Revealed, 10 spine-chilling and terrifying tales from haunted Kentucky's sinister shadows. Anna never imagined her late-night shifts at the old diner would plunge her into a nightmare. With the air thick like syrup, the lingering smell of fried food disguised secrets older than her southern hometown. The muted ambience buzzed with anxious whispers, a palpable tension that gripped her as she scrubbed the counter, remnants of old grime plastered like a shroud over the wood. And then there were those symbols, strange and malicious, etched into the tabletop, grotesque reminders that something far darker than grease lived within these walls. Every night, she fought exhaustion just to get through her shift. The couple next door, elderly Mr. and Mrs. Hawkins, had taken to watching her children while she worked. They had looked after her own parents, providing a sense of safety. But safety was an illusion, especially when news broke about the family who had vanished just weeks before, their gruesome massacre buried beneath years of the town's charm and hospitality. The diner's laughter seemed to mock her deepening dread. She could feel the diner watching her as she moved, every creak in the floorboards echoing the basement's hellish tales. With every car that passed by outside, shadows lengthened, sidling up to her, looming larger than life. It was just too many eerie coincidences. Tension rooted in Anna's gut with every shift. The whispers, the glances. The filmed-over eyes of the customers, those she'd known for years, now turned hostile. Anna thought of her children, tucked away, resting in the familiar walls of the Hawkins home. But tonight, they had greeted her with unsettling laughter. When she tucked them in, the light dimming to shadows, it lurked around their faces, a haunting gleam that made the hair on her neck stand. The bedtime stories they had shared began to bleed into something dark, the myths morphing into truths she dare not confront. A flicker of doubt nestled in her mind. Were Mr. and Mrs. Hawkins sharing more than love and care? Just looking out for you, dear, they'd say, their voices syrupy and sweet, concealing the sinister undertones masked beneath. What if they weren't harmless? What if they were entwined in the town's troubled legacy, a dread that clung like cigarette smoke, rising from the ashes of the past? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day stretched on, fraught with oppressive silence, punctuated by strange occurrences. Cars turned down her street, prowling like wolves waiting to feast. Each crack in the walls echoed ominously, and she jumped at every sound, her heart racing as visions returned those haunting tales she never wholly believed. The couple's eyes on her now felt like a weight, a tether to the horror that lurked unseen. Then, on a night steeped in storm, the power flickered off and on, an eerie hum of anticipation coursing through the air. The moment Anna confronted them, her breath caught in a knot of disbelief. The strange symbols had morphed into something sinister and unveiled. The Hawkins' grinned eyes ablaze with the predatory gleam she'd missed all along. She staggered back, caught in a web of chilling truths, and every second stretched infinitely, her children's laughter mingling with the storm outside, calling her into the dark and just who wove the threads of death and despair that hung heavy over their heads now. Thunder rumbled overhead, shaking the windows of the diner. Anna's heart thundered with it, a frantic pulse echoing in her ears. She stumbled away from the Hawkins, fury and confusion coursing through her like wildfire. The symbols on the table, glistening in the flickering light of the dying bulbs, twisted into macabre shapes that danced before her wide eyes. "Anna, dear." Mr. Hawkins' voice dripped with honeyed malice, "There's no need to fear. We only want to help." His hands, skeletal and pale, unfurled like the claws of a great predator. She clenched her fists, tasting bitterness on her tongue. Help? No. This was a trap, a venomous web spun tight around her heart. Words stumbled awkwardly through her mind. She longed to scream, to call out for her children. But fear like a thick fog clouded her senses. She forced herself to breathe, moving for the door. The creeping sensation of their gaze fueled her panic. They were closing in. Each step felt like drowning. With every glance toward them, their smiles grew wider, masks of horrifying delight obscuring the truth. Behind her, the clatter of kitchen utensils rang like a death knell, as if the diner itself was mourning the import of the moment. The shadows of the room pulsated like a living creature, hungry and waiting. When the door swung open, a gust of wind howled through the diner. Rain lashed against the pavement outside, echoing her inner turmoil. She hesitated, her instincts clawing at her mind, forcing her backward. Then she heard it, her children's laughter mingled with something darker, an echoing chant that beckoned her to return. It was wrong, their voices couldn't belong to them. "Anna, come play with us," her daughter's voice chimed, eerily cheerful, unnaturally vibrant. Panic ignited in her veins. She darted outside, rain soaking her instantly. The storm raged, yet she saw no sign of either of the Hawkins. She turned, drenched and shivering, heart pounding against her ribs. The air bristled, the electric charge of danger skimming her skin. She bolted for the Hawkins house, her heart racing faster than her legs could carry her. The porch creaked ominously as she ran up the steps. Something was unsettling about the silence that enveloped her here, a cocoon of dread that pressed down on her shoulders. Peeking through the window, her heart nearly stopped. The living room glowed with candlelight, illuminating figures sitting in a circle, chanting softly. Her children sat at their feet, eerily still, eyes wide and unblinking. The Hawkins hovered over them, expressions devoid of warmth. They seemed to be in a trance, and to Anna, it felt as if they were not of this world but something wretched, tied to horrors she didn't understand. She wanted to shout. To rush in and grab her kids. But something stopped her. The image held her captive, the chanting, the circle woven with shadows. It felt ancient, powerful. She pressed her hands against the glass, breath fogging the surface as a tremor ran through her. Suddenly, she felt the air thrumming with energy. The chanting swelled, curling around her like smoke, drawing her nearer. She fought it, fighting against the pull wrapping around her mind. Heart racing, she stepped back, intent on running, but something crashed behind her. A figure stood in the doorway. Tall, imposing, a dark silhouette with a familiar shape. Just as she turned, a flash of lightning revealed Mrs. Hawkins' eyes glowing, mirrors reflecting an abyss Anna couldn't comprehend. "I think you're forgetting something, dear," she hissed, voice dripping like poison. Time dissolved, the ground beneath her feet unsteady, and all she could do was gasp, caught between the world she knew and the one laced with darkness. What would she have to sacrifice to save her children now? Anna froze, the air thickening around her like a heavy fog. Mrs. Hawkins stepped forward, her silhouette merging with the darkness, her breath releasing terse, mirthless chuckles. "Come now, dear. You know we can't let you return without embracing your destiny," Mrs. Hawkins crooned, her voice a haunting melody that twirled through Anna's mind. She shook her head vehemently, fighting against the creeping sensation of despair flooding her senses. "Let them go!" Anna shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. Her fists clenched as her heart raced like a wild animal in a cage. Mrs. Hawkins barely blinked, her expression one of dark amusement. "It's too late, Anna. Your children chose to play. They've opened the door, and now it's time for the rest of the family to join the game." There was a sickening finality in her tone, chilling Anna's blood. The thunder then roared again, mingling with the ominous chanting from inside the house. The noise was discordant, an ancient language reverberating off the walls and shaking her bones. Her children were trapped, almost suspended in an otherworldly moment, eyes locked in a daze as if they teetered on the edge of a precipice. Anna stepped backward, her breath hitching. Panic surged, she turned to escape, but the door swung open, revealing Mr. Hawkins. His smile was grotesque, a gash of teeth that could pierce the fabric of reality itself. "You can't run from this, dear," he said, voice sticky sweet. "You'll find it only brings you closer." He reached out, hand stretching toward her, an invitation, yet it was nothing more than a noose tightening, but somewhere inside her, a flicker remained. A mother's instinct blazed, igniting her resolve. She darted around them, the storm's ferocity at her back, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. The rain lashed her skin, the world blurred as she zigzagged through the downpour. I have to get them. She gasped into the wind, her mind churning with every possible escape. But every turn brought her back to factory seconds. The Hawkins house loomed large, a sentinel of terror watching her scramble. As she raced down the road, doubt wormed its way into her thoughts. What did she really know about the Hawkins? What secrets lay under the surface of the town she called home? Whispers of an old book, a tome of dark knowledge, stolen away by those who shouldn't possess it. The memories sparked one after another, racing through her like a flash flood. She was almost to Main Street, the rhythmic thumping of her heart muffled by the relentless thunder. But then, a flickering light draped her in warmth, an open sign from the diner she had fled. A sickening thought struck her. Could the answer lie within? Could the diner hold the means to turn the tides? As she skirted around the edge, she rolled the thought over. Hiding in darkness was a blood pact made long ago. But maybe, just maybe, the diner held the key to decipher the Hawkins curse. She entered. The familiar scent of burnt coffee and grease enveloped her, hauntingly reassuring. Yet the silence was deafening. Something was wrong. Help! The soft, distant whisper echoed from the kitchen, weaving through the air like a spectral wail. Was it her own voice? No, it was her children. Fear twisted harder, drawing her deeper into shadow. She edged toward the kitchen, heart racing uncontrollably. Mommy! Another chilling call. And then she saw it, a flicker of light, a familiar glow playing against the stark white tiles. It beckoned her as if a moth to flame. As she approached, breath caught in her chest, she noticed the symbols drawn on the floor, pulsating like a heartbeat, like their shared connection. But something else twisted in the air, a sudden shift in the atmosphere that made her freeze, dread pooling in her stomach. She had come to save them, but who exactly was she becoming in this dance with shadows? Just outside the diner, the wind howled again, pulling at her thoughts, echoing something she couldn't quite grasp. What dark forces were brewing just beneath the surface, ready to unravel everything she had ever known. The soft whispering intensified, wrapping around Anna like a shroud. Each breath became heavier, weighted with the realization that she had stepped into a world where time seemed to warp. The flickering light pulsed, brightening and dimming as if it was responding to her fear. She squinted, feeling nausea rise when she caught sight of the symbols on the kitchen floor. They twisted and writhed under her gaze, beckoning her closer, but they also repelled her, drawing on ancestral dread buried deep within her. Mommy! The voice grew louder, more insistent. With a sudden jerk, she lunged forward, crossing the threshold into the kitchen. The familiar sounds of clanking dishes and sizzling grease were drowned out by an unsettling hum that vibrated through the walls, echoing the chanting from the house outside. Where are you? She screamed, desperation clawing at her voice. She scanned her surroundings, heart hammering as old diner memorabilia hung eerily on the walls, each shadow seemingly watching, judging her. A flick of movement caught her eye. Was that a hand? Over here. The voice again, but sharper, filled with what felt like panic. Anna rushed toward the dark corner of the kitchen, breath uneven. The oppressive gloom felt almost alive, thickening the air until it stung her lungs. What was happening? Could this diner be corrupted too? She stumbled forward, her sneakers slipping on the wet tile, as she reached the doorway to the pantry. The door creaked ominously as she pushed against it, revealing a world of darkness pooling within. Shadows danced along the edges, whispering secrets of despair. Mommy! There it was again, clearer now, coming from somewhere deep inside that void. With her heart racing, she stepped inside the pantry and fell into the dark. The air thickened further, stifling. Lily! Nate! Anna shouted, her voice swallowed by the emptiness. Information raced through her mind. What had the Hawkins done? Were they somehow extending their influence beyond the house? Were they here, somewhere in this twisted diner? And then her phone rang, a piercing noise that sliced through the silence. She nearly dropped it, heart pounding, as she fumbled in the dark to answer. "Hello." She breathed, words almost failing her. "Mom." Lily's voice came through the dark static, shaky and distant. "Lily. Where are you?" Tears pooled in Anna's eyes. "Mommy, we were scared. It won't let us go." "What do you mean? Who won't let you go?" Her mind raced through the possibilities. Sudden laughter erupted, a harsh, metallic sound. It echoed around her, chilling her to the core. "Mr. Hawkins." "You're too late, Anna," he purred, his voice slithering through the air like smoke. "They're already part of the game. Just like you." Anna clenched the phone. "No." She cried, collapsing against the wall, fingers gripping the tile, painfully aware of the damp chill clinging to her skin. "Join us or lose them forever," he whispered, a sinister promise lacing his words. The lights flickered violently, illuminating the pantry in jagged bursts, revealing grotesque shapes swirling around her. The symbols on the floor in the diner began to glow, pulsating with an insatiable hunger, and Anna felt her head spin as reality warped and twisted. "Mommy! Help!" Lilting chants began again, weaving through the air, drowning out everything else. Anna's resolve trembled, twisted in knots. What would she sacrifice? Her children? Her sanity? "What do I have to do?" She gasped, palms slick against the tile. Silence fell. A choice loomed heavy in the air, thick with dread. And then, the symbols on the floor flared brighter, illuminating a doorway back into the diner. A way through? Or a trap, but she could feel something else lurking, something darker waiting just at the edge of her consciousness. As the chants grew louder, she knew that whatever lurked beyond that doorway would define her fate. "Find the book," came a breathy murmur from the shadows. "And make your choice." Anna trembled, heart pounding uncontrollably. She would need to confront the dark secrets hidden in the diner, the truths that might save or doom her children. Or would they uncover something she couldn't escape? One step, one choice, awaited her. What awaited her on the other side of that threshold? Anna stood frozen at the threshold, a heart of ice gripped by fear. The pantry's darkness pulsed with heartbeats that matched her own. Quivering, she stole a glance back into the kitchen, the flickering lights casting distorted shadows on walls that seemed to breathe in tandem with her rising panic. "Find the book." The murmur lingered, an echo brushing past her ears, teasing her mind. Steeling herself, she stepped forward, crossing the threshold fully. The chill swallowed her whole, a stark contrast to the clanging chaos of the diner just a breath away. The air smelled of mildew and something else, something metallic. As she ventured deeper, the door creaked shut. A whisper of wind brushed against her skin, and she shivered. "Mommy?" The voice again, this time echoing from an unseen corner. Desperation clawed at her throat. "Lily, I'm coming. Hold on." But the pantry seemed to twist around her, morphing into something far more sinister. Shelves loomed above, falling into the dark void below, each dwindling shadow feeling like a snare, waiting to catch her or drag her under. Her eyes flitted over every shadow, every crack, as anxious whispers tugged at her ears like errant fingers. "Find the book." The urgency quickened behind her muddled thoughts, mingling with the sense of dread solidifying in her gut. Where was it? Suddenly, a glimmer caught her eye, a book, dusty and slightly askew, perched on the edge of one dimly lit shelf. Anna reached for it, trembling as she picked it up. The moment her fingers brushed the spine, a surge of energy coursed through her. Images flickered before her eyes, flashes of reality and nightmares tangled together, words echoed from the pages. "The binding of souls cannot be undone." Unnerved, Anna stumbled backwards, nearly slamming into the shelves. "No. This can't be happening. Mommy, please." The plea shattered the tension, pulling her back from the brink of hysteria. Taking a ragged breath, she opened the book. Inside, pages crackled and turned like skipping rocks across water, revealing hundreds of names, all connected to horrifying accounts of loss and sorrow. Each story a thread, weaving a tapestry of despair linked back to the Hawkins. Blood rituals, sacrifices, twisted games, it was all here. Amidst the horror, a picture crystallized before her, a gathering of shadowy figures, faces obscured, all around a gaping maw that threatened to swallow them whole. It wasn't just her children at stake, it was so much larger, it was everything. The pantry began to tremble. Shadows twisted into grotesque forms, looming closer. She clutched the book, her mind racing with its implications. What do I have to do? Panic surged as the chanting outside intensified, weaving through the walls like a vengeful spirit. She wished for clarity, for a light to guide her choices. Then, unmistakably, a voice came from behind. Join us, Anna. Or say goodbye. It was Mr. Hawkins, lurking just behind the shadows, eyes glinting in the flickering darkness. Bile rose in her throat. Get away from me. Your children are already entwined with us. You can't save them. But you can join them. As his sinister laughter echoed, revelation crashed over her like a tide. The book, the rituals, it was all about choices. And in this moment, she had one of her own to make. The pantry quaked violently, darkness swirling dangerously, tightening like a noose around her. Mommy, help. The voices of her children pierced through the chaos. Fear hardened her resolve. I want to let you take them. But the shadows writhed, hungry, and the energy churned. Something deep within the book glowed, promising power and danger. With a final visceral cry, Anna clutched the book tighter. What would she unleash? In a desperate moment, she faced the encroaching darkness, heart racing. Would she surrender to the madness, or could she reclaim her children from the very depths of despair? The shadows beckoned her to choose. The air thickened, pressing hard against Anna's chest. She could feel the shadows swirling around her, their voices forming a sinister chorus that taunted her with promises and threats. Her heart hammered, a ragged rhythm of defiance and terror, as she locked her gaze on Mr. Hawkins. His figure flickered in and out of the dim light, an apparition of menace. You think you can stop this? He sneered, stepping closer, his presence amplifying the oppressive darkness. The book is just the beginning. You are part of a much larger plan, Anna. No. She shouted, shaking her head, desperation fueling her determination. But the chaos was relentless. Shadows twisted and coiled like serpents, drawing nearer, each slithering form whispering secrets of dread. Your children, they're waiting, he pressed on, his voice smooth but laced with icy malice. They want you to set them free. Free. She spat, wounded and furious. You're lying. Am I? The moment he spoke, the air crackled with energy, and the room surged with an unnatural chill, sapping her resolve. Anna could feel every haunting word echoing in the pantry. The figure of Mr. Hawkins shifted, distorting like a funhouse mirror, and then blurred into something massier, more grotesque. Suddenly, she felt the chill of the book in her hands. It pulsed like a living thing, begging for her to make a choice. Desperately, she opened it again, pages flipping wildly as if stirred by a tempest. Her fingers skimmed across the names inscribed, innocent lives sacrificed, bound to the will of the Hawkins family. Bloodlines of darkness, all crisscrossing into one inevitable fate. Learn, Anna, the book urged, the words throbbing beneath her fingers. Learn your power or become powerless. Mommy. The cries of her children pierced through the air, jagged shards that cut through the suffocating darkness. Each call ignited a fire of defiance within her, rising above the fear. She had come too far to yield now. Tell me what to do. She screamed at the shadows, her voice echoing like thunder. I will save my children. The shadows recoiled, swirling into a whirlwind of uncertainty, their whispers faltering. You must make a sacrifice, Mr. Hawkins hissed, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. One that will bind you to this world forever. Their lives for your soul. What? Her voice quivered, dread licking at her heart. The weight of his words sank in like a stone, heavy and sickening. Sacrifice or lose them forever. Frantic, she glanced around, the pantry closing in as a vortex of shadows spiraled, desperate to consume her. Every instinct screamed at her to fight to defy the choice laid bare before her. But what did it truly mean? In an act of primal desperation, she tore her gaze from the book and faced the dark mass coiling around her. "You think I'll choose between my love and my life?" she declared, heart racing, swelling with adrenaline and fury. "I'll stop you." Suddenly, the shadows pulsated aggressively, a vengeful tide crashing against her sanity. They shrieked and howled, distorted faces emerging from the void, their cries swirling into a symphony of anguish and anger. Anna felt their hopelessness clawing at her, each whisper feeding on her fears, laying bare her deepest vulnerabilities. Gathering every ounce of strength, she shouted, "I refuse." In that very instant, the book surged in her grip, an incandescent light exploding from its pages. It consumed her and the shadows surrounding her, a blinding force that shattered the darkness. And within that radiance, a choice loomed, echoing in the depths of her soul, vibrating with power. But as light bathed the pantry, something stirred beyond, a sinister presence awakening around her. "What have you done?" Mr. Hawkins rasped, horror flooding his features, morphing the shadows into a tempest. An unearthly growl roared through the pantry, and Anna felt the ground shake beneath her feet. What was unfolding? Light and shadow collided, and the chamber trembled with a ferocity she had never known. The darkness wouldn't let go without a fight, and now it seemed she had awakened something worse. As the walls began to crack and splinter, she had only one thought: would light or darkness claim her now? The blinding light pulsed, illuminating every inch of the pantry, but it did little to chase away the dread clawing at Anna's insides. She gasped for breath, feeling the weight of something ancient and powerful shifting in the very foundation beneath her. The shadows writhed, dark tendrils reaching out, desperately trying to latch onto her. "What did you unleash?" Mr. Hawkins's voice sunk into a low growl. His figure twisted, the anguish on his face contorting into a sinister grin that promised chaos. The shadows howled, a cacophony of regret and fury echoing around her. The floor buckled, and Anna stumbled backward, clutching the book tightly. It throbbed, a heartbeat in her hands, connecting her to whatever horror was festering just beyond the veil of light. She glanced at Mr. Hawkins, whose form flickered with an energy both vibrant and terrifying. He was no longer just a man, he was a conduit of darkness, an entity tied to the shadows that reveled in her fear. "Do you believe you can control it?" he sneered, confidence splattered with desperation. Dirt and debris rained down from the ceiling, fragments of the world above crumbling away as the pantry transformed into a battleground of light and dark. As the shadows lunged for her, whatever had been stirred in the depths of her powers began to rise. The pages of the book turned feverishly in her grip, revealing symbols and incantations she couldn't comprehend but felt were igniting within her soul. Answers twisted just outside her reach, and she felt the temptation to rely on them grow. "What do I do?" she screamed, the panic building in her chest threatening to swallow her whole. The cries of her children still echoed faintly, a tether she couldn't afford to sever. In response, the light emanating from the book split into beams, forming a kaleidoscope that swirled outward, illuminating the grotesque faces of souls trapped in darkness. They twisted with anguish, drawn toward her, their eyes wide with desperation, silently pleading for freedom. She could see their pain, their longing for release, and recognized then that Hawkins was not the only one in this pantry who thrived on fear. "Make your choice." The shadows shrieked, their voices a tortured symphony. "Or we take what is ours." This choice was a weighty chain around her neck. She could sacrifice herself and cut her children free, or she could bind herself to this new power, a dark protector. Both options threatened to plunge her deeper into despair. Desperation ignited courage. "I am not your pawn," she cried, and a surge of defiance coursed through her, fueled by the fire in her heart. She raised the book high, and, as if answering her plea, the light flared brighter, the shadows writhed in a fury, screeching as she unleashed the energy swirling within. The room warped and twisted, both light and darkness colliding violently. Anna felt as if she were being torn apart, light and shadow fighting for dominance over her very soul. Could she hold the balance between the two? Just as she thought she might gain the upper hand, the pantry erupted in a blinding explosion. A wave of sound shattered the dark, and Anna felt her feet lift off the floor, her mind consumed by the chaos swirling around her. Then, silence fell. When the dust settled, Anna found herself alone in the aftermath, the pantry strangely quiet. But her children were still gone, their cries had faded to haunting echoes. She dropped to her knees, heart racing. What had she unleashed into the world? "Mama!" A weak voice broke through the silence, a whisper tangled in the folds of the air. She looked up, and before her eyes, a shadow began to form, twisting like smoke, slithering with undeniable familiarity. "Is that you?" she whispered, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. But as the figure solidified, she realized it was not just her children calling for her. A dark, insidious presence had returned, lurking in the corners of her mind, ready to capitalize on her moment of weakness. The shadows were restless and they weren't finished with her yet. What sacrifices would she have to make now? The air crackled with an electric tension, each breath Anna took heavier than the last. The familiar shadow distorted but coiled tighter, taking shape. It was her daughter, Lily. The little girl's eyes glowed, shining like ember coals in the night. But the innocence that once defined her had been replaced by an unsettling hunger. "Mama?" The word slipped from her lips, heavy with dread. This wasn't the reunion she'd hoped for. Something dark brewed just beneath the surface, whispering secrets that echoed in the pantry's eerie stillness. "Run," whispered a voice that wasn't her daughter's. The shadow-touched figure twisted as if in pain, the words stretching out like tendrils, gripping at Anna's sanity. Fear coursed through her veins, chilling her. She was trapped in her own home, and now it felt like a mausoleum. "Lily!" she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. "What have they done to you?" But instead of an answer, the little girl turned her head, gazing into the dark corners of the pantry. The shadows stirred there, crawling and shrinking, as if pulled by an unseen force. A low growl echoed, it reverberated against the walls like a warning echo. "Join us," Mama Lily crooned, her voice morphing smoothly, melding with the shadows that held her tightly. A mixture of anguish and temptation saturated the air. The pantry was no longer a simple storage space, it was a realm twisted by terror, stitched together by loss. Anna stumbled back, heart racing. "No. I won't let you." She gripped the book tighter, flinging it toward the floor. A clash of energy exploded between the pages and the shadows, creating a momentary fracture in reality. "Foolish woman." Hawkins's laughter boomed, echoing amidst the chaos. He emerged from the edge of the light, eyes alight with sadistic glee. "You think you can escape? You think you can save her?" A wave of shadows surged forward. Anna felt it wash over her, slick and suffocating. She gasped, instinctively raising her hands, casting the energy of the book outward. Golden beams erupted, colliding with the onslaught, but they were met with ferocity, blood-curdling screams wailing as the shadows fought back. Lily twirled in the chaos, her form growing less defined and more grotesque. "Come to me, Mama." She stretched her arms wide, each movement disjointed and wrong. Anna could feel the pull fatigue mingled with the yearning to hold her child again, to save her. "No." Anna gritted her teeth, forcing the light around her to intensify. It flared like a beacon, illuminating the haunting faces trapped like flies in a spider's web. "I'd rather face the darkness than join it." In that moment, the air vibrated with her fervor. It was a flicker of hope. The shadows shrieked in retaliation, thrashing against the onslaught. The weight of despair tugged at her heart, but she felt the warmth of her love for her children mingle with the suppressed energy inside her. "Your power is wasted here." Mr. Hawkins's voice rumbled, shattering Anna's resolve. The shadows pulled back, swirling darkly. She realized she had no idea how long she could keep fighting. Each flicker of light drained her, gnawing at her sanity as dread closed in. Does she know what lurks in the corners of her heart? Hawkins darkly mused, a Cheshire cat's grin spreading across his face. She brings the storm, yet seeks to calm it. The shadows only reflect her fears, and there, in the midst of it all, a horrifying realization crept in. The darker aspects of her soul, resurrected from grief and regret, were woven into the fabric of the shadows. How could she fight them if they dwelled within her? As the light flickered, dimming against the encroaching despair, Anna's voice quavered, "What do you want from me?" The cavern of darkness answered not with words, but with a rending, damp laugh, unfurling across the pantry like fog. "Your soul, we crave your soul." With each syllable, the shadows lunged again, a furious wave crashing against the last remnants of her light. And just as darkness encroached once more, something deep inside her began to awaken, a primordial instinct to survive, but at what cost? What part of her would she have to sacrifice to reclaim her children? As uncertainty loomed large, dread wormed its way deeper into her heart, tightening like a vice. What must she lose in order to save her kids? And could she survive the shadows' retaliation in the end? The shadows hit Anna like a tidal wave, swirling around her, beckoning with promises both terrifying and seductive. She could feel the darkness clawing at her thoughts, mingling with her memories, every loss, every regret, a twisted tapestry that bound her to the very monstrosities she was trying to escape. "Fight! You have to fight!" she shouted at herself, the desperation hardening her veins like ice. But as her thoughts swirled, the light grew dimmer, flickering in a dance as if mocking her will. The buzzing of dark whispers filled the air, and she staggered, wrestling with her mind. She could see them now, the faces of forgotten dreams staring back, their hollow eyes pleading for release. "Lily!" Anna reached out instinctively, her heart thrumming. But the distorted figure of her daughter seemed to grow taller, more monstrous, absorbing the fading light like a sponge. The amber glow in her eyes flared brighter, a beacon of unholy hunger. "Leave her be!" Anna screamed, lunging forward. She felt an unseen force slam against her chest, choking the breath from her lungs. Such defiance! Hawkins' voice slithered through the air, taunting, reveling in her torment. The shadows seemed to pulse with sadistic delight. "You still think there is hope? That there is salvation waiting for you? What a pitiful illusion!" As the shadows stretched and writhed, Anna's desperate denial burned brightly within her. She didn't know how long she could endure. Sweat trickled down her back, the cold gnawing at her resolve like a ravenous beast. But something deep inside her, a flicker of stubborn, buried strength, refused to let her give in to despair. "Remember what you lost, what you sacrificed," the voice of her daughter echoed, laced with venom and longing. "You wouldn't want to lose me again." Anna's thoughts whirled again at the mention of sacrifice. With each pulse of darkness, memories flared, the baby's first heartbeat, laughter at bedtime, whispers of "I love you" echoing through the night. They were fading as shadows danced provocatively, reminding her of darkness that was part of her. "Make it real!" Hawkins shouted, his voice booming like thunder, "Release what you hide. Only then can you embrace the darkness." Torn inside, Anna clutched the book with both hands, a life raft in the tempest. The energy hummed, tugging at the remnants of her hope. As the shadows closed in, she felt the book tremble in her grasp, a heartbeat pulsing in time with her own. Something primal awoke in her, a memory of the true nature of the light she held. "Confront your heart." A whisper slithered through her mind. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as she unleashed the last vestiges of her strength, vibrant and true. Light erupted from her hands, a brilliant flash that split the shadows in two. But as the dark chaos receded, she glimpsed forms tangled within the destruction, long-forgotten echoes of regret and pain. They reached for her, fingers curling like barbed vines. The shadows lunged, not toward her but toward the very light she sought to save her family. "No!" Anna roared, and with a final surge of energy, she pulled herself through the chaos. She was blinded by the brilliant screams erupted, howls of torment faded, but she pushed through, when the light finally dulled to a candle flicker, Anna blinked. The pantry stood still, shadows retreated, cowering at the edges. And there, at the center, her daughter looked back, innocence restored, but the remnants of darkness still danced along the edges of their newfound calm. Lily? Anna's voice trembled with equal parts hope and fear. Are you? Before she could finish, Lily opened her mouth but no words came out. Instead, a single shadow clawed its way back, snaking toward Anna, intent on dragging her back into the depths. Mom! Help me! Lily screamed, her voice teetering on the brink. Anna felt her heart lurch. Had she won? Or was the battle just beginning? What will you sacrifice now? Hawkins's foreboding laughter echoed, chilling her to the bone as fear grasped her heart once more. The shadows shifted, and the air thickened. With unspoken threats, would she need to give up everything to pull her daughter from the abyss? Fear clawed at her, what was left to lose? The ground trembled, and she realized this fight was far from over. Anna's breath hitched as she faced the swirling shadows of the pantry. The memories of her children surged within her, clashing with the darkness encroaching, clawing at her heart with desperate need. What was left to sacrifice? She had already faced more than she could bear, teetering at the edge of despair. Lily! She cried, her voice raw with desperation. I'm here. I want to let you go. Just as she reached for her daughter, the darkness writhed, a churning mass of regret and loss eager to envelop them both. The shadows shrieked in defiance, gnashing at the remnants of light Anna had rekindled. You think you can save her? A cacophony of voices spat, echoing around her like a twisted chorus. You're just giving in to what you fear. Fury ignited within Anna, a phoenix rising from the ashes of her sorrow. She wouldn't let fear dictate her fate any longer. I refuse, she shouted, grounding herself in the love she had for her children. The book pulsed in her hand, energy intertwining with her determination, lighting up with the stories of those who had fought before her. Confront your heart. The whisper came again, more a command now than a plea. Anna focused on the essence of what she cherished most: her children, their laughter, bedtime stories, and every moment of joy they had ever shared. It was all locked tightly in her heart, the purest light she could summon against the dark. With a deep breath, she summoned every ounce of courage. You're part of me, but you don't control me. She yelled at the shadows, each word cutting through the tension like a knife. I choose to fight. The shadows recoiled, black tendrils curling away from the oncoming light. To a bystander, it might seem a mere flicker, but to Anna, it was a bonfire. Clutching the book tightly, she shouted an incantation she had glimpsed earlier on its pages. Unfurling her voice, she recited the words that promised freedom. Light erupted, radiating from the center of her being, engulfing the pantry. The shadows screeched, slamming back against the walls as if they'd hit something impenetrable. In that tempest of brilliance, Anna felt connected like never before, a tether to the essence of all good: their family love, unyielding and fierce. Lily! Nate! She cried, focusing solely on the warmth that bound them. Echoes of her children bounced off the walls of the pantry, the rhythmic chant of their names igniting hope. A shimmer appeared, their silhouettes breaking free from the void, eyes wide with understanding. Mommy! Help us! They reached out, elongated hands painted in shadows yet brimming with light. I'm coming! Anna surged forward, her body infused with power, stepping through the veil of darkness that now faltered under her strength. The figure of Lily solidified before her. But just as she dove to embrace her daughter, darkness lashed out one last time. You think you can break the cycle? Hawkins' voice boomed through the air, his laugh twisted with despair. You can't win. It's not your choice anymore. Anna yelled back, wanting to drown out his chaos. I choose love every time. With that, she pushed against the shadows, wrapping her children in her embrace, holding tightly to the light that had awakened in her. In that heartbeat, the pantry exploded into blinding white. The earth trembled beneath her feet, shadows howling in defeat before spiraling into nothingness. The cackle of Hawkins faded to a mere whisper, lost among the echoes of hope and defiance that now filled the air. The light dissipated, Anna found herself kneeling on the floor of the diner, surrounded by the familiar scent of burnt coffee and stale fries. Her children, unharmed and vibrant, clung tightly to her. Tears streamed down Anna's cheeks, a mixture of relief and gratitude, her chest heaving with truth. "Mommy, we were so scared," Lily cried, burying her face in Anna's neck. "I know. But we're safe now," Anna whispered, holding them both closely, their warmth chasing away the lingering chill of dread. They had faced the darkness and emerged together, stronger. With every breath, she could feel the remnants of what had once threatened to devour them fading away. The diner hummed around her as if coming back to life, shadows retreating into the corners where they belonged, no longer a place of fear but one of resilience. "Are we free?" Nate asked, looking up with wide eyes. Anna smiled through her tears. "Yes, my love. We're free." And in that moment of peace, Anna knew they were bound not just by blood but by a newfound strength, the belief in light conquering darkness. Together, they stepped outside into the night, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever came next. They were home, but little did they know, shadows never disappear entirely, they merely lay in wait for another chance. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending.